5 more to go. Okay, so let's finish up the review for our test. Again, test is tomorrow. And we're on question number 16. Okay, so chapter 1 test review. Okay, so number 16, if I gave you something such as this, 1 plus 2i over 3 minus 5i. Okay, so I want to rewrite this one, and instead it'll say a plus bi form. Okay, the real part plus the imaginary part. Remember, what's wrong with the way I have it written right now? Can we have imaginary numbers in our answer? Yeah. What?
Not on bottom.
Not on bottom. So you guys remember how do I get rid of that imaginary number on the bottom? Times the top and the bottom by
3 plus
3 plus 5i, the conjugate of the bottom, 3 plus 5i. So let's times the bottom by 3 plus 5i. Let's times the top by 3 plus 5i. And you don't need to have this memorized, but when you're timesing conjugates, you don't have to do all of FOIL. You just have to do your first and your last. Your outers and inners will cancel. And again, if you forget that, it's not a big deal. You'll find out that your outers and inners cancel. So let's do the bottoms first. Our first, 3 times 3 is 9. Our last, negative 5i times positive 5i is negative 25i squared. Let's FOIL out the top. Our first term is 1 times 3 is 3. Outers is 1 times 5i, that's 5i. Inners is 3 times 2i, which is 6i. Last is 2i times 5i, which is 10i squared. Okay? We can clean this up a little bit. We put together, we have 3, 5i, and 6i is 11i. And 10i squared, what is I squared?
negative
So that makes 10, negative 10.
So instead of doing that, couldn't we just erase the 3 and put negative 7?
Like I said the other day, you don't have to show every single teeny tiny step, but the more steps you skip, the more likely you are to make a mistake. I'm not saying you can't, just be careful. I would never erase in this class, never erase, okay? Because, I mean, let's say, okay, you said put together 3 and negative 10 and just, listen to what I say.
Yeah.
Can I just put 3 and negative 10 together and get negative 8?
No.
Not negative 8, negative 7, right? But if you don't put that, if you just put negative 8 there, I'm like, where the heck did that come from? I have no idea where that came from. Okay? You just, if you put 3 and negative 7, then or negative 10, you accidentally put negative 8. I know what you did, you just added wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I'm combining like terms and there's a I squared, I just treat that like.
That's fine. Here's what I would do. Instead of rewriting the whole thing, I would do this. That way I can still see it, but you don't have to look at it. Don't erase, okay? Don't ever erase, okay? So, and then we have, same thing if you want to do that right here, I'm going to cross this off and make it a positive 25. Maybe I can just do that. So that's 34 on bottom. And then our final answer, 3 and negative 10 is negative 7 plus 11i over 34. Absolutely nothing wrong with that answer. I'll take full credit if this was the question. But if it's supposed to be a plus bi, the a part, the real part would be what?
Negative 7 over 34.
Negative 7 34ths plus 11 34ths I. You don't need to write, I really don't care. Okay?
So
But-
does it matter if it's 11i over 34 or 11 over 34?
Same thing. Same thing. 11 34ths I is the same as 11. Because 11 34ths I means 11 times 34. 11 34ths times I. And I is I over 1.
Okay.
So when it's in the middle, it's really on top. Okay? 17. Okay. Hopefully this is an easy one. These next 4 questions, 17 through 20, same instructions. Solve, and I want the answer in interval notation. Okay? You got to put your answers in interval notation. That's where we either have parentheses or brackets, or a parenthesis and a bracket, the infinities and stuff like that. So this one should be easy, I think. If I gave you 2x minus 3, 4x plus 11, say that. 2x minus 3, 4x plus 11 is bigger than or equal to 0. And this one's easier, I think, because it's already factored. We got 0 on one side, it's already factored. Critical values you should be able, I'm sorry, Luke. Critical values you should already know. 3 halves and negative 11 fourths. You guys remember what I did next? I wrote them down. Those are my critical values. What do I draw next? Number line. Draw your number line. Put them in the right spots. Negative 11 fourths has to be to the left of 3 halves. Then pick a number to the right of 3. Again, pick a number here or here or here. I'm going to pick a number. I like positive numbers. I like big positive numbers. So I'm going to plug in 1,000,000. 2 times a million minus 3 is a positive number. 4 times a million plus 11 is a positive number. Positive times positive is a positive, so anything to the right of 3/2 is positive. Does it bounce anywhere or not? No, so it flip-flops every time. Plus, minus, plus. What do we care about, where it's positive or it's negative? Bigger than 0, greater than 0, it's gotta be positive. So we're saying here and here. So to write it in a notation, this area right here, what's the smallest quote unquote number? Right, and I say quote unquote because infinity is not a number. Okay, it's a concept. So negative infinity, comma, negative 11/4. There's an equal sign under here. Do I get to count negative 11/4?
Yes.
Do I get to count infinity?
No.
You never count the infinities. Again, I want to make sure you understand. It says real clearly here. If I have an equal sign here, forget about, don't even look at this. If I have an equal sign, do I always include the endpoints?
No.
You can include them as long as what?
Doesn't make 0.
Doesn't make 0 on bottom. If I don't have an equal sign, do I ever get to, you never get to include the endpoints then. You never do, okay? Or, this one, the smallest number is 3/2. The biggest number, quote unquote number, is positive infinity. If we don't include infinity, do I get to include 3/2? Yeah. Because there's an equal sign there, and it doesn't make 0 on bottom. Question on that one? Hopefully that wasn't that bad. 18's a little bit tougher, but not much. X squared plus 7 is less than negative 8x. Okay. This one's a teensy bit tougher for 2 reasons. What's one? I'm sorry. What's it hasn't been factored, and what else is a little bit
Not 0.
not 0? So let's make it 0 on one side, and then let's factor this thing. And once we do that, this one's actually pretty easy. Plus 8x plus 8x. X squared plus 8x plus 7 is less than 0. And this one actually factors so easy that some students struggle with it. Any numbers popping into your heads when you see a 7 and an 8?
7.
What's so special about 7 and 1? Times the 7, add 8, plus 7, plus 1. And factors doesn't get much easier than factoring like that. My critical values are negative 7 and negative 1. And don't screw up here, make sure you put them on the right spots. Which one's smaller? Negative 7 is smaller than negative 1. Doesn't bounce anywhere, everything's raised to an even power. If I plug in a huge positive number, that's going to be a positive, that's going to be positive, a positive times a positive is a positive. Flip-flops every time. What do I want, where it's positive or it's negative? Negative, okay. And again, I'm not making fun here, but every year I have at least one student says, well, yeah, we don't like negatives, we don't like negatives. Well, it's not, they're asking where is it negative. That's what it says. When is this less than 0? When is this negative? If you don't like negative numbers, okay, neither do I, but guess what? That's what they're asking about. They're asking, when is this less than 0? So we're talking about between negative 7 and 1.
Don't include them
Don't include either one, why?
because it doesn't say equal.
It doesn't have an equal sign. So everything between negative 7 and negative 1, not including either one. So hopefully that wasn't too bad. 19. About x squared minus x over x squared plus 5x is that. Okay. We got 0 on one side, that's good. Okay, any thoughts? Are we gonna do this thing?
The x squared goes away.
Say it again.
Get rid of the x squared.
Can I cross these x squareds off?
No.
Why? Separated by pluses and minuses, no. Not if it's separated by plus and minus, you can't. Any ideas? We've done it the last question we did it on.
Critical values.
Okay, I don't know what they are yet, though. How come I don't know the critical values yet? What'd you say?
Because you can't make 0.
Tell you what,
Can't factor. It's not.
you guys know the critical values here?
Yeah.
You better. What are they?
-3, 7, 2.
Why is that so easy to find the critical values? It's factored.
These aren't factored.
So guess what?
Factor.
Factor it, okay? Need to factor this thing. How do I factor the top?
X.
What about x? Take an x out. X times what? Minus x times over. How about the bottom? Take out an x. X plus 5. The critical values, there are 3 of them.
0.
0,
And then 1.
1, negative 5. You might want to put a little star next to this one unless you already know the answer. Does it bounce anywhere?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Where?
0.
Why does it bounce? Do you see any squares? Anything raised to an even power here?
No.
Not the way it's written, but it's to the first and it's to the first. What's x to the first over x to the first? X to the what?
0.
And 0 is
Even.
even. It bounces at 0. The graph bounces off the x-axis at 0. Draw your number line. Make sure you put them in the right spots. Negative 5, 0, and 1. Okay, if I was to plug in a humongous number times that same humongous number minus 1 is a positive. A huge number times that same huge number plus 5 is still positive. This is positive on top, this is positive on bottom, positive is a positive. So it's positive before 1. When it hits 1, does it stay positive or does it flip over?
Flips.
Flips because it doesn't bounce. Then it hits 0. It's negative before, what's it going to be afterwards?
Negative.
Negative, it bounces, it doesn't cross over. And then it doesn't bounce at negative 5, so it's plus.
You want where it's greater than. Or
What's that?
Less than.
Less than.
Yeah, I put it.
Less than. And it has an equal sign, so we might include the endpoints. We might. So we want the negatives, where it's less than 0. So from negative 5 to 0, again, we might include the endpoints. Which of these endpoints will I include? The negative 5 or the 0 or both or neither? Neither. Why? What's wrong with negative 5?
It's 0 on bottom.
0, same reason. Or 0 to 1. Do I include 0?
No.
We just said we don't include 0. Do we get to include 1?
Yeah.
You get 0.
But it's on top.
Can you explain the x to the first power over x to the first power
Sure.
is x and 0?
Right. If I gave you x to the 7th over x to the 3rd, that's x to the 4th.
Oh, it was because we do cancel thing.
When you divide, you subtract.
Yep, got it.
And 0's even. Okay.
Doesn't matter, x is always 1 in that case.
Right. If you don't see an exponent, it's a 1. Okay, last one, number 20. Let's do x over 2x minus 3, 4 over x plus 7. Okay? Okay, so, any thoughts? What we should do first? First step's an easy step. It's kind of a mouthful, but
Subtract 4 over.
Why?
Get 0.
get 0 on one side. Subtract 4 over x plus 7. Okay, so we have x over 2x minus 3 minus 4 over x plus 7. Let's go back to middle school. When you subtract fractions, what? Common denominator. And I don't know if I've said this in this class this year. Without a calculator, how would I find, if I gave you denominators of 47 and 98, multiply them together, whatever 47 times 98 is, that's your common denominator, okay? So denominators are 2x minus 3 and x plus 7. Common denominator is 2x minus 3 times x plus 7. And don't actually multiply them together. Minus 2x minus 3, x plus 7. Okay? So, let's look at the first fraction. How do you turn a 2x minus 3 into a 2x minus 3 x plus 7? Times by what? X plus 7. Okay, if we do that, I might have screwed this up, oh well. X squared plus 7x. How do I turn x plus 7 into 2x minus 3 x plus 7? by 2x minus 3 times the top by 2x minus 3. You have 8x minus 12. This might have worked out. Let me see here. We may alter this, hang on. It's almost worked out. We're gonna alter this just a teensy bit. At the very beginning, make that a, hang on, make sure that's the only thing I gotta change. Anywhere you see a 2x minus 3, make it a 2x plus 3. It's 2x plus 3, 2x plus 3, 2x plus 3, 2x plus 3. So that's not gonna be 8x minus 12, it's gonna be 8x plus 12. There's a reason behind this. I can't believe I got this close to having it work out. I thought it was gonna be a total mess. All right, let's subtract the tops then. So what can I subtract from x squared? What can I combine with x squared? Nothing. But I could put together 7x and what?
8x.
But it's minus, so 7x minus 8x is negative x. And then we're left with, well, minus, watch the minuses, minus 12 over 2x plus 3, x plus 7. Now what? You know all the critical values? You should know 2 of them right now.
No.
Why don't you know all of them?
Factor.
You don't understand why I changed this right here? If I wouldn't have changed that, you know how you would have factored that? You wouldn't have been able to, okay? So let's factor the top. X squared is x and x. Last term's negative, so it's a plus and a minus. How do you times to negative 12, but add to negative 1? Which one's negative? Negative 4, positive 3. Over 2x plus 3, x plus 7. All right, there are 4 critical values. What are they?
Negative 3 over 2. Oh, yeah, negative 3 over 2.
Okay, negative, you're looking at the bottom first. That's fine. Negative 3 over 2.
Negative 7.
Negative 7, look at the top.
Negative 3.
And positive 4. Put them on the number line. Where does it bounce at?
No.
Nowhere. Smallest number is negative 7, then negative 3, then negative 3 halves, then positive 4. Okay. If I plug in a humongous number like a trillion plus 3 is positive, trillion minus 4 is positive, that's going to be positive everywhere. So it's positive, and it doesn't bounce, so it flip-flops every single time. It's plus, minus, plus, minus, plus. We care about what, where it's positive or where it's negative? Less than 0, negative. So here and here. There's an equal sign. We gotta keep count. We might use them. We might not. So we got between negative 7 and negative 3. Do I get to include negative 7?
No.
Nope. Do I get to include negative 3?
Nope. Yes.
Yes, we do. Or from negative 3 halves to 4. Do I get to include negative 3 halves?
No.
Nope. Do I get to include 4? Yep. Now, you guys already know this, but I'm going to go ahead and say it to you guys. If you're sitting here and you're like, man, I understand it. It makes sense when he does it. Good. I'm not going to be doing these tomorrow. You are. You got to be able to do these on your own. You can't just sit there and go, yeah, it makes sense. I got it. You got to be able to create these on your own, guys. Okay. Is there anything that you want to go over that we reviewed the last couple days? Anything? Otherwise, I'm just going to give you the rest of the hours you guys can study. And then you really need to study a little bit tonight.
Still not clicking quite how we decide if it flip-flops or not.
Okay.
That's right, too.
Do you understand you need to be straight up front with me here. Don't tell me what I want to hear. Do you understand what I mean by bounces and so forth or not?
Yeah, I understand like how it bounces. I just don't understand how to tell if it bounces.
Okay. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 areas here. Okay, 5 regions. You can pick any of them. It doesn't matter. Okay. I don't ever pick this one or this one. I don't ever pick ones. I pick one way over here or way over here. And the reason is, you're limited here. I mean, here, if it's anything to the right of 4, I mean, it could be any, I mean, it could be 8, 12, 98.3, 84,296, okay? But here, it's such a limited range between 4 and -3. You have to literally pick a number like 1 or something, okay? I don't like negative numbers, so I pick a number to the right of 4. I pick a number like, it doesn't have to be a trillion, it could be 100. All I care about is the sign. I don't care about what the actual value is. Is it positive or is it negative? I plug in 100. What's 100 plus 3?
Yeah, I know how to find what if it's a positive on the end of it. It's just how do we decide if it bounces?
Okay. Well, I mean, you said, and I'm not being critical, you said before you understood what a member bounces. I want to make sure you do understand.
But like,
if it's raised to an even power,
I understand how to write it so it looks that way. It's just if it, how do we check? Because, okay, I know the
forget about all this math right now. A few weeks ago, it was still cold out. Okay, it was really cold out a few weeks ago, okay? Let's say the temperature drops. It's the temperature's 10 above 0. Okay, then it's 8 above 0. Then it's 6 above 0. It keeps dropping and dropping and dropping. It's going to eventually, let's say it eventually hits 0. Okay, it has +8, +6, +4, +1. Then it hits 0. Now, it may stay 0 for a little bit, but it's going to change eventually. There's two options. It could bounce back up and stay positive. +8, +6, +4, +1, 0. Back up to +3, back up to +10, back up to +15. Okay, it never changed. It bounced off at 0. Okay, or it could hit 0, and it could cross over and go negative. Okay, there's only two options. It gets positive before, bounce up, stay positive afterwards, or positive before, hits it, crashes through, switches over to negative. It doesn't bounce; it goes through. Okay, so were you good with where it said positive?
Yeah, I heard someone say something about we check the power for if it's
Right.
going to go positive, negative, positive.
These are all raised to the first power.
Okay.
If it's raised to an even, if any of the factors
So
is
if
raised
it's
to an
even,
even
then
power,
we
then
go
it
up.
bounces.
Okay.
Then it
That's all I
bounces.
needed.
Right. And since it was all odd, it never. If this would have been squared right here, it
Then-
would have bounced at 4. So it would have been positive here. Then what?
Then positive.
Positive afterwards. Then it doesn't
So
bounce
which-
anymore.
Whatever it is, so if it was a +3, then at 3 it would have been
Positive here, then
Positive.
positive afterwards. When it bounces, it doesn't change. Okay. So
Yeah, that's
if
all.
it bounced at 4, you tell me. If it bounced at 4, positive, what would it be here? Then what?
Negative, positive, negative.
Yeah, just flip flops then.
Yeah, that's all I
If
need.
it doesn't bounce, it flip flops. Any others? You guys want to like look on your own, study on your own, and then ask me individually or something? It doesn't matter to me. Okay. I think there's some really easy questions. I think there's some really hard questions on this test. Okay. All right. Okay. The rest of the time's yours. Do what you need to do to prepare for it. Okay.